Power rarely shouts. It doesn't need to. True power doesn't demand attention, it creates gravity. It pulls others into its orbit through stillness, confidence, and control. Those who talk endlessly about what they'll do are trying to convince themselves they have power. Those who already possess it only act when necessary. And when they do, the world listens. In a crowd of voices, the quiet one stands out. The loud ones burn their credibility through constant noise, through arguments, reactions, and attempts to prove their worth. But the quiet individual leaves questions hanging in the air, forcing others to fill in the blanks. People project greatness onto mystery because uncertainty is magnetic. Silence becomes a stage where others perform their assumptions. This is the paradox of control. The less you show, the more others reveal. The one who observes learns everything, while the one who shouts learns nothing. The quiet man is underestimated until his influence is already woven into the structure of things. He speaks once and shifts everything. You see it in nature. The storm makes noise, but it's the calm before it that builds fear. You see it in history, in leaders who said less, but made every word count. Their power lived not in their voice, but in their restraint. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote that a ruler should never waste strength on proving himself, only on preserving the illusion of control. The truth is, insecurity screams. Confidence whispers. Those who lack inner authority must constantly remind others of their importance. But those who possess quiet power need no validation. Their presence alone is a statement. They don't chase respect. They attract it by being unshakable in a world of reaction. The art of power begins with silence, because silence terrifies people. It leaves them guessing. It breaks the rhythm of expectation. When someone insults you and you don't respond, they feel exposed. When someone seeks to provoke you and you remain still, they reveal their own weakness. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects others' desperation. Power speaks through composure, through the refusal to explain, through the simple act of not reacting. Those who control their emotions control their image, and those who control their image control the game. Machiavelli would tell you this. If you want to be feared, be unpredictable. If you want to be respected, be unreadable. But if you want to be remembered, be silent until the moment demands your voice. And when you finally speak, let it cut through the noise like a blade through glass. The truly powerful do not speak to convince. They speak to end the conversation. They understand that every word spent unnecessarily weakens their position. Every reaction surrendered gives away leverage. Silence isn't just restraint, it's a weapon. Learn to pause before you respond. Let the room grow uncomfortable. Let your quietness create tension. The world will bend to those who can bear the weight of silence, because silence is control made visible. In time, you'll see, power doesn't live in the loudest voice. It lives in the one who can say nothing and still be heard. Part 2. The strength of stillness. Power is not movement, it's control of movement. Stillness is not an action, it's preparation disguised as peace. Those who can remain calm in chaos appear divine to those trapped in panic. A man who doesn't flinch commands the room, even when he says nothing. His steadiness becomes contagious. Others start looking to him for direction without realizing it. This is how leaders are born, not from loud declarations, but from the quiet mastery of themselves. Stillness isn't laziness. It's strategy. It's choosing not to react because you understand that reaction is a form of surrender. When you react, you let someone dictate your tempo. You dance to their rhythm. You let their emotions become your leash. But when you remain still, utterly unmoved, you reclaim the tempo of life. You move when it benefits you, not when it pleases them. In the court of power, composure is currency. People trust what does not waver. They follow what does not shake. The quiet person is unreadable, and in that unreadability, there is strength. People can't prepare for what they don't understand. Machiavelli saw that men are predictable creatures of impulse, slaves to vanity, hunger, fear. But the ruler who learns to pause, to conceal his inner storm behind a calm mask, becomes untouchable, because no one can strike what they cannot see. The strength of stillness lies in the invisible, the waiting, the observation, the internal calculation. It's in the way you withhold your emotions until the right time, using patience as a blade sharper than rage. Even your silence communicates. It says, I see everything. I owe you nothing. Stillness disarms those who thrive on drama. When you don't feed their fire, it dies. When you don't argue, they lose their purpose. When you don't defend yourself, you remove the very stage they need to perform on. Power is not about always winning the fight. It's about making others too uncertain to even start one. A quiet man in a loud world is unsettling. People can't tell what he's thinking. They can't measure his intentions. And that uncertainty becomes his greatest weapon. They'll speak to fill the silence. And in doing so, they'll reveal everything. You'll see their motives, their weaknesses, their insecurity. Control isn't about domination, it's about direction. When you direct your attention inward, you stop bleeding energy outward. The strong are not those who chase, but those who wait for the right moment to move. Power, like water, shapes everything it touches not by force, but by persistence. Stillness allows you to see where the cracks are, in people, in systems, in yourself. And when you finally act, it's not random. It's decisive. It's the strike of someone who has seen everything unfold before making their move. In this world, people mistake motion for progress and noise for importance. But in truth, most movement is panic disguised as purpose. Stillness is focus. It's knowing that most problems solve themselves when you stop feeding them attention. There's something deeply Machiavellian in that realization, that patience itself is power. That mystery is control. That silence is not absence, but presence refined to its purest form. Those who master stillness can move entire worlds with a whisper. Part 3. The gravity of presence. There's a kind of power that can't be taught through words. It must be felt. You sense it when someone enters a room and suddenly, the air changes. No noise. No announcement. Just presence. Everyone looks, but no one knows why. That is the gravity of quiet authority, the invisible pull that comes from a person who no longer needs to prove anything. Most men talk because silence exposes them. They fill the air with stories, boasts, arguments, because the quiet reveals their insecurities. But those who have power within them, those who carry certainty in their bones, they don't hide from silence. They own it. They become it. Their calm draws others closer, not through performance, but through energy. A powerful presence is not built in public. It's forged in solitude, in long hours of discipline, reflection, and observation, while others waste their strength chasing validation. Machiavelli would say that those who seek constant approval are like weak princes who spend their reign pleasing others until they become their servants. Power requires you to stand alone, and to do so comfortably. Silence doesn't just mean the absence of noise. It means control over attention. When you speak less, people pay more attention to what you say. When you move with intention, every action carries weight. Your stillness becomes suspense. Your restraint becomes allure. The modern world despises quiet strength because it cannot manipulate it. The algorithms reward noise. The crowds reward outrage. But the man who remains centered in chaos, who doesn't bend to every emotional storm, becomes a living contrast, and contrasts draw eyes. Power hides in contrast. Calm amidst panic, thought amidst impulse, grace amidst arrogance. Presence begins with awareness. Watch people closely. Watch how they speak, how they move, how they reveal themselves without realizing it. Everyone is constantly broadcasting who they are, through tone, posture, and reaction. The more you observe, the less you have to speak. The less you speak, the more control you gain. And eventually, you'll see it. Most people crave the approval of the loudest voice. But true influence comes from being the quiet one everyone wonders about. The mystery becomes its own mythology. People fear what they can't define, and they respect what they can't predict. That's what makes quiet power so dangerous. You never show your full hand. You let others underestimate you. You let them think you're passive, until the moment comes when your silence turns into action and their entire perception collapses. Machiavelli warned that a ruler should appear merciful, faithful, humane, but behind the curtain, he must be calculating, decisive, and cold. Power thrives in appearances, not confessions. So never explain yourself too much. Never reveal the full truth of your motives. Let your presence speak louder than your words. Because in time, your calm will be misread as confidence. Your silence will be mistaken for strategy. And your restraint, that's what will terrify people most. Remember, You don't have to be the loudest in the room when you are the room. Part 4. The language of restraint. Every word you speak is a piece of yourself you give away. Every reaction you offer is a glimpse into your strategy. The powerful understand this. They treat speech as currency and attention as blood. They spend neither carelessly. Restraint is not weakness. It's the highest form of power because it proves mastery over the self. The man who cannot control his mouth, his emotions, or his impulses will always be controlled by others. He'll be baited into conflict, tricked into revealing his motives, and drained by people who know exactly which buttons to press. But the man who stays still under pressure, who listens longer than he talks, who doesn't rush to fill silence, he becomes unshakable. Restraint is not silence for the sake of peace. It's silence for the sake of dominance. It's the conscious decision to act when it matters most. Machiavelli taught that timing is the essence of statecraft. Power is not only about what you do, but when you do it. Move too early, and you reveal yourself. Move too late, and you lose your moment. But move with restraint. Wait until emotion clears, and every decision becomes precise. A man who knows when not to speak is a man who understands influence. Silence creates anticipation. When you finally talk, your words carry impact because they're rare. People wait for them. They measure them. You don't have to shout when the world is already leaning in to hear you. The same rule applies to action. The one who acts constantly shows desperation. He reveals his strategy, his fear of losing ground. But the one who waits, who acts only when it counts, seems untouchable. People start to believe that when he moves, it's already too late to stop him. Restraint also breeds unpredictability. Those who speak everything they think become predictable. They can be studied, anticipated, and neutralized. But the one who hides his intentions, who masks his emotions behind neutrality, becomes unreadable. That unreadability is what Machiavelli called the veil of power, the protective layer that separates a ruler's true mind from the public's gaze. Even in personal life, this principle applies. In arguments, the quieter man wins, because the one who raises his voice first has already lost control. When you remain calm, you dictate the tone. You show that no one can move you. Emotional control is the foundation of masculine dominance, not dominance over others, but over yourself. The language of restraint is learned in moments of tension. When you want to explain yourself, but stay silent instead. When you want to react, but choose stillness. When you feel the urge to justify your value, and let the results speak for you instead. This doesn't mean apathy. It means precision. Every emotion has its time, every word its place. To be powerful is to understand that attention is energy, and you only give energy to what deserves it. Everything else withers from neglect. So learn to let people misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them doubt. The more they reveal, the more you know. The less you reveal, the less they can use. The Machiavellian man isn't ruthless for cruelty's sake. He's ruthless because he knows how rare control is. Most people leak their power through speech, through emotion, through the need to be understood. But those who choose restraint, those who use silence as a scalpel, they shape reality itself. In time, restraint becomes instinct. You stop fighting every battle because you realize the strongest move is often no move at all. You stop chasing outcomes because you understand that gravity doesn't chase, it pulls. Power speaks quietly because it doesn't need to prove anything. It knows it already controls the room. Part 5. The power of observation. True power is not expressed, it is absorbed. It is the ability to see more than others, to understand more than others, to anticipate more than others. The quiet man does not act first because he must. He acts last because he has watched everything unfold and knows the exact moment to intervene. Observation is the backbone of all strategy, the hidden muscle beneath visible strength. Most people never stop to notice. They rush, they shout, they react, blind to the currents beneath the surface. They operate on instinct, on habit, on immediate gratification. The powerful, however, exist in a state of perpetual awareness. They notice how a hand twitches, how a tone shifts, how eyes dart before a lie is told. They catalog these details silently, letting the world reveal itself in fragments, while others reveal themselves entirely. The silent observer gains knowledge that cannot be taken away. Words fade, but information lingers. Every conversation is data. Every reaction is a clue. Every human interaction is a window into desire, fear, and weakness. The quiet man who observes can see patterns others cannot, and with patterns comes the ability to predict, to manipulate, to control outcomes before anyone realizes what is happening. Observation also breeds patience. When you understand the full scope of a situation, you do not rush to act. You wait. You prepare. You let others make mistakes, misstep, reveal their intentions. Then, when the moment is right, your move is unstoppable because it is informed, deliberate, and precise. Machiavelli understood this principle implicitly. The ruler who does not watch his subjects will be blindsided. The one who trusts appearances over reality will fall. Power is often invisible because it is cultivated in the mind, in perception, in the ability to remain 3 steps ahead while the world operates in chaos. Observation also teaches restraint. When you understand how much you know, you realize how little you need to act. The more you see, the less you need to speak. The less you speak, the more authority you carry. In social dynamics, in negotiation, in leadership, the observer holds the invisible strings. The less others realize they are being watched, the more they reveal. Silence becomes an instrument in this process. Not only does it protect the observer from revealing his knowledge, it amplifies it. People feel compelled to fill the void. They speak, they reveal, they betray their intentions without ever knowing that they are doing so. Every word they utter is ammunition for the quiet strategist. Every confession is power handed over voluntarily. The quiet man sees what is hidden, knows what is unspoken, and understands what cannot be measured. While others rush into battle, he waits in shadow, poised to strike at the precise moment that will yield maximum effect with minimal effort. In this way, observation transforms quietness into dominance. Power does not have to announce itself. It only has to perceive, understand, and wait. And when it finally moves, it is unstoppable because it has been informed by the totality of everything others overlooked. The art of observation is the silent foundation of influence. The louder the world shouts, the more essential it becomes to simply watch. Part 7. The Strategic Mind. Power that whispers is most effective when paired with a mind that calculates. Quiet authority is not enough. It must be guided by strategy, foresight, and a thorough understanding of human nature. The man who speaks less often can think more. His silence becomes a lens through which he observes the battlefield, social or literal, with clarity. A strategic mind is constantly analyzing outcomes before they occur. Every action, every word, every movement is considered for its ripple effect. The powerful individual understands that life is a web of cause and effect, and to act without forethought is to surrender control. The Machiavellian principle here is simple. Anticipate the moves of others before they anticipate yours. This strategic patience is not passivity. It is the art of calculating every possibility and positioning oneself so that when action becomes necessary, it is decisive and transformative. The quiet man understands that haste reveals weakness, that rashness exposes vulnerability. He observes, he measures, he waits, and in waiting, he gains insight unavailable to those who act impulsively. Furthermore, strategy in silence fosters autonomy. When you speak less, you rely less on external validation. Your decisions are guided not by applause or approval, but by analysis and insight. Others may try to manipulate or distract, but your mind remains your own, anchored in reason and observation. The fewer your confessions, the more untouchable your intent. A strategic mind also recognizes the power of perception. People respond to what they believe, not necessarily to what is true. By shaping perception subtly, the quiet strategist gains influence without confrontation. Small gestures, nuanced behaviors, and careful restraint build an invisible architecture of authority around him. Those around him move according to the patterns he has set, often without realizing they are guided. Every leader, every successful influencer, understands that humans are creatures of narrative. We interpret the world through stories of strength, weakness, loyalty, and fear. The strategic mind uses this to its advantage. Silence, observation, and measured action become instruments in creating narratives that serve one's goals. The strategic mind also excels at timing. Knowing when to speak, when to act, and when to withhold creates leverage. In negotiation, in relationships, in leadership, timing is everything. The man who strikes too soon risks exposure. The man who strikes too late misses opportunity. The quiet strategist masters patience, aligning his actions with the moment that maximizes impact. Finally, the strategic mind is reflective. It analyzes past outcomes, learns from errors, and adjusts future tactics accordingly. Silence gives space for introspection. Observation feeds insight. Restraint preserves energy. And influence, cultivated quietly over time, becomes absolute. True power, therefore, is both quiet and deliberate. It is the mastery of mind, presence, and timing, a force invisible until it reshapes reality in ways no one else saw coming. The strategist does not need to shout, because his understanding of the world ensures that when he moves, it is decisive, complete, and irreversible. Part 8. The Philosophy of Quiet Power. All lessons converge here. Power that speaks quietly is the product of self-mastery, observation, restraint, subtle influence, and strategic foresight. It is a philosophy as much as it is a method, a way of existing that prioritizes impact over attention, action over noise, and perception over validation. At its core, quiet power teaches a fundamental truth. Control over oneself is the most potent form of influence. When a man can govern his impulses, his reactions, and his emotions, he becomes untouchable. External chaos may swirl around him, but internally, he is anchored. This is the essence of Machiavellian thought applied to personal and social mastery. Rule yourself first, and the world bends to your presence. Mystery amplifies power. When others cannot predict your actions, they are compelled to pay attention, to analyze, to respond. The quiet strategist never reveals the full extent of his plans. He allows people to fill in gaps with assumptions, and those assumptions often exaggerate his capabilities. The less the world knows about your true capacity, the more it fears it. Quiet power is relational. It shapes dynamics subtly, guiding others without coercion. It is the art of influence through presence, observation, and timing. Relationships, negotiations, and social hierarchies bend to the quiet man because he does not need to assert dominance overtly. His restraint signals confidence, control, and foresight. People instinctively follow those who seem unshakable, whose calm implies mastery over circumstances that would destabilize others. Patience is inseparable from quiet power. The rush to act, speak, or respond diminishes authority. The strong know when to let moments pass, letting others make mistakes, reveal intentions, or exhaust themselves. When action finally comes, it is not only precise but inevitable. The quiet strategist moves like gravity, invisible in force, yet undeniable in effect. Philosophically, quiet power demands detachment from external approval. Those who crave attention or validation relinquish authority to the opinions of others. Silence liberates the individual from this tyranny. By speaking less, observing more, and acting with intention, the quiet man creates a space where he defines reality on his own terms. All these principles, presence, observation, restraint, influence, strategy, patience, and mystery, converge in the same lesson. Power does not shout, and authority does not boast. Those who command respect through quiet mastery often go unnoticed until their effect is undeniable. They shape outcomes, influence behavior, and alter perceptions without the need for spectacle or confrontation. Finally, quiet power is timeless. It is not a trend, a tactic, or a performative strategy. It is an enduring principle rooted in human psychology and the dynamics of influence. Those who understand it rise above noise, chaos, and superficial competition. They operate in a different dimension of life, where results matter more than appearances and impact is measured by effect, not volume. The philosophy of quiet power teaches that true mastery lies in what is unseen. Words fade, actions decay, and reputation shifts, but presence, foresight, and calm endure. Influence achieved through quiet control cannot be bargained away, challenged recklessly, or diminished through triviality. It is power at its most efficient, strategic, and philosophical form. Embody this principle. Cultivate stillness, Observe relentlessly, restrain consistently, act with purpose, and let your influence unfold like gravity itself. Let silence do the speaking. Let calmness define the room. Let strategy guide the moment. And in this way, you will discover a power that is both unstoppable and quietly terrifying. A force that commands respect, shapes reality, and endures beyond the clamor of the world. The world responds not to those who demand attention, but to those who cultivate it invisibly. Learn this, live this, and in the quiet, become a force that cannot be ignored.